...2022 was a pretty big year for entertainment, whether it was movies, music, TV, or games. That being said, given that I'm working full-time at the business factory, I didn't have time to make individual lists for each of these categories. So, in the spirit of brevity and the new year, I present to you the top 10 things of 2022. Coming in at number 10, we have Season 2 of The White Lotus. This is a show that I typically wouldn't get into, but after having it recommended to me by a really good friend and binging the entire first season in a couple of days, I jumped right into Season 2 hoping to get that biting satire that was from the first, and I was not disappointed. Shifting the location of the season to Sicily from Hawaii also gave us the opportunity to shift the satire subject as well. Rather than focusing on class, this season it's all about sex. The power dynamics that play between couples, single people, men and women, and what that means from a feminine and masculine perspective are all present here, and it's done flawlessly. Coming in at number 9 on the list is Andor, and this should surprise nobody that saw my last video covering it. This show just brought exactly what I was looking for from something Star Wars related this year. The political intrigue, the action, the espionage, it was all there. And on top of some great performances and surprising cameos, it made it one of this year's best shows for me. Number 8 belongs to The Weeknd's Dawn FM. Now, it may seem a little odd to put an album on a top 10 list, but anybody who's come across some good music this year and just had it blasting in their headphones from January through December knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm a big fan of concept albums, and the fact that this was being pitched as a sequel to 2020's After Hours, including the same character and continuing that story, had me intrigued from the jump. And when you combine some of those 80s dark synth vibes with the incredible visuals that we were getting from the music videos for this album this year, all wrapped up in DJ Purgatory himself, Jim Carrey, leading us through the entire project, there was no way this was not going to make my list. And taking the number 7 spot, we have Matt Reeves' The Batman. This was easily my most anticipated comic book movie of the year, and I was one of those people that after hearing that Robert Pattinson had been cast in the role was not entirely worried because I had seen some of his other work that solidified him as a pretty good actor for me, but I did not expect him to be in the running for my favorite Batman after seeing this. Across the board, the performances in this movie are incredible, from Paul Dano's Riddler, Zoe Kravitz's Selina Kyle, and the transformative performance of Colin Farrell as the Penguin. There's not a bad performance in this movie. However, the best character in this movie is easily Gotham City. I know it's been said before, but this is the best version of Gotham that we've seen on screen. Everything from the rain to the orange lights gives this atmosphere that just oozes a comic book without it feeling like it's not a real place. It's something that's surprisingly nice to see from a comic book movie, considering the cinematography that we've been getting out of Marvel movies has been very to the point and just gets the job done. Matt Reeves and crew, though, have nailed a production design for this film and the world that they're creating that has me very excited to see what we're going to get out of it in the future. Number 6 on the list goes to none other than Season 3 of The Boys. Now, if you're already a fan of The Boys, you know exactly what I'm going to say about this season.
It was perfect. Perfect.
This was by far the best season of The Boys to date. In addition to the great character work across the board, particularly with Homelander and Soldier Boy, we also got to see the continuation of Vought's consumerism and corporate culture of commodifying every aspect of these characters' lives. Not to mention the very meta real-world shit fit that a bunch of right-wing fans threw when they realized that the show has always been a satire making fun of them, which for me was the absolute icing on the cake of a perfect season. Taking my number 5 spot is God of War Ragnarok. This game is a certified masterpiece, no doubt about it. Did it live up to 2018's God of War for me though? No. The pacing of the story overall didn't quite hit for me, and there were a lot of twists that didn't work. It was incredible acting from everybody across the board, and while the combat was improved, it wasn't such a substantial jump ahead of the first one that really put it in a category of its own for me, which had the story having to do a lot of the heavy lifting for this game, and had me constantly asking throughout my journey, Is this better than the first game, which closing credits on it and having a decent number of hours into a second playthrough of it, I can say that for me, the first one is probably still better. However, it gives a phenomenal conclusion to the Norse saga for Kratos and Atreus, and is definitely worth your time if you haven't checked it out yet. Number 4 on my list belongs to Severance. There are a lot of people I know that absolutely love The Office. For me, it's always been more of a so-so show, but Severance, on the other hand, is much more my speed at a show that's going to criticize office culture. The premise of a voluntary surgery that takes your mind and separates it into the memories and consciousness of the 8 hours a day when you're clocked in at work and the time spent when you're clocked out at home is a very interesting and very dark concept, creating a very intense and bone-chilling drama that has these characters wondering what the hell is actually going on at the place that they're working, and has you as the audience seeing how this technology would potentially be implanted in greater society. Plus, it's got Christopher Walken. Coming in at number 3, The Northman. God damn, I did not expect to love this movie as much as I did. This is my first time seeing a Robert Eggers movie, and from what I've been told by other fans of his, it's probably his most approachable film as well. The actors all do great work for this film across the board, with the standout being Anya Taylor-Joy. However, the true magic of this film is really in its cinematography. The way this film presents its locations has you really feeling that cold, frostbitten nature of this part of the world, and perfectly parallels the dark, violent nature of the characters you're following. And how it managed to all come together and completely mesmerize me made this easily my favorite film of the year. Elden Ring takes the number 2 spot. While Elden Ring might not be my favorite From Software game, it could easily be argued that it's their best. It took everything that the industry learned about open world design from games like Breath of the Wild and applied a Soulsborne formula to it, which also makes this From Software's most accessible game. I have friends that have tried to get into Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Sekiro, and none of it stuck with them. But for some reason, with the ability to just go, I'm gonna go somewhere else and not do this boss right now, Elden Ring just worked for them. But also creating boss fights that were some of the most challenging that we've seen in this genre of gaming. I've put over 100 hours into this game and I still have a ton left to do, and if that doesn't say anything about the sheer size of this game, I don't know what else does. I don't think Elden Ring will still have that same sense of wow upon multiple playthroughs that some of the other From Software titles still give me when I play through them. That being said, they have still managed to do something incredibly magical here, with this beautiful world, the unparalleled character and enemy design. This is a game that will not only be remembered as one of 2022's best, but one of gaming's best experiences. House of the Dragon did absolutely everything right. It was the perfect follow-up and as perfect as you could get given the sheer amount of weight that was on its shoulders following the insanely disappointing finale of Game of Thrones. I remember a lot of people, myself included, being very apprehensive about how this show was going to turn out when it was announced, and every one of those people is now completely on board with this series. It brought back everything that I loved about Game of Thrones and did it in the best way possible. It had amazing, interesting characters, the political dynamics between all the different houses was still intact, and it gave us a lot of really good action as well. You had dragons, you had King Viserys, you had that weird dude with the cane. The showrunners really did do something that a lot of fans thought was impossible. They took the good stuff from Game of Thrones, but they also threw in new characters and almost overnight made us forget about all the bad stuff we'd had associated with Game of Thrones for the last 3 years. Watching this show week to week really was the highlight of entertainment for this year for me, not just because the show itself was incredible, but all the outside of the show online discourse that was happening, from reviews to Twitter. Everything about it felt like the best parts and the best years of Game of Thrones had come back. And going into the next season in 2024, I really hope that that continues, and I can't wait to see where this show goes. So there it is, my top 10 of 2022. Thank you for making it this far, and if you did, let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite things were this year and some stuff that you might be looking forward to in the future. I know that there's a lot coming out that I am personally excited for and I'm going to be making videos on, so if you enjoy what you saw, stick around, and thanks again for watching.